let's actually talk about the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack, which went live this week. So this is coming from the Metro UK. The guys over in Britain. Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack is broken as fans complain of frame rate issues and input lag. So they write, do I have an author here? I do not. Game Central in general. The launch of the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pass has not gone well, judging by the number of complaints on Twitter and Reddit. The expansion pack for Nintendo Switch Online subscription service, which adds support for N64 and Mega Drive games, is already controversial for its high price, so it really needed a problem-free launch to justify its cost. But that's not what happened. In theory, adding support for 2 new formats shouldn't have caused any problems since Nintendo Switch Online has been around for years now, and indeed there don't seem to be any problems with the often emulated Mega Drive games. N64 games are re-released far less often though, and it's them that are causing the problems. The list of the complaints varies greatly depending on the game, but there are reports of frame rate issues in Mario Kart 64, Star Fox 64, and Yoshi's Island, as well as controller input lag on the likes of Super Mario 64, Zelda Ocarina of Time, and Mario 64. There's also reports of problems with garbled or delayed sound with Super Mario 64 and Mario Kart 64, with music tracks in some of these games being clearly broken. Some issues clearly point to the emulation being rushed or incomplete, with poorly thought out button layouts that bear no relation to how the original game worked. There are also reported issues with textures in Mario Kart 64, with games also throwing up error messages when it tries to use the controller pack, the N64 equivalent of a memory card, which obviously doesn't exist as a physical thing in these emulations. So, this all implies that the service was rushed out without proper testing, which sounds like a terrible idea given how unhappy people already were about the price. The expansion pack can't be subscribed to separately and effectively doubles the price of the original tier to, and I'm not going to go into the British equivalent there. So, Adam, it just gets worse.
I mean,
are you surprised by this?
What? That it's not going over well? No, not at all, given the initial reaction we saw and the fact that it just continues now, because obviously the rumors of things like input lag going on, the fact that it seems like it was very rushed, and even like the word an emulation subscription rushed just makes me cringe just in the idea of hearing that. The fact that like you were so desperate to make a bunch of money that you couldn't even take a second to make sure that the 30-year-old software you were putting on present day technology was just not quite going to work, tells me that this again was just a move that was nothing more about just squeezing more dollars out of the customers that they seem to have gotten some pretty blind loyalty out of. And based on the reactions that I've seen, especially through Reddit, but I mean all over social media, I would imagine, it's nice to see that at least, they can be pretty angry once in a blue moon if they're actually pushed a little bit too far, which at some point I wasn't sure that was going to be even possible, because it seemed like no matter what Nintendo did, there was already a flood of people that would be jumping to defend it. And I have not seen remotely any like large amount of defense at all. Like there might be the smidget of guys that do it because everybody's got to do something different. But in the end, I'm not seeing that movement of like, oh, you guys just don't see the long game they're playing here. Like, no, it's just everybody's pissed.
Yeah, to me, I'm kind of surprised by, like, not the price. We've already talked about the price. I think that was to be honest, I think that was always Nintendo's intention, is to raise the price. I think that, they were just slow to the game. They can't come out right away with the high price. So they came at a low barrier of entry, get people in, get people hooked, and now they're raising the price. But I mean, their price isn't much higher or much less. It's on par with what the other, competitors are doing. And so I don't think that's surprising in that sense. But I think the fact that it launched so poorly is kind of a surprise. I mean, Nintendo has been known for delivering, like when they deliver, like when they deliver on their projects, like they generally last pretty well. And so this just seems like a half-assed rushed job. And I think that's kind of, I don't know, it doesn't bode well when you're trying to now raise the price to become a premium product or premium service, and it craps out halfway through. And it's like, these are growing pains, these are growing issues, but it's hard when you are not coming in with the positive message of your pricing, and then the service that you're providing craps out on you.
Well, I mean, you can also make the argument too. If they're trying to become a premium product, you kind of have to offer one that can be considered that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna keep saying it. Like, I don't care about the Animal Crossing DLC. You push that to the side because if you don't play that game, it's completely pointless. So you have to look at the thing that is always consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the emulated games. And they're not worth $30, especially not if it's a library of what? 20, 30?
12.
Most?
I think it's 12. Oh,
like,
Nintendo games.
Like on each side? Like it's realistically until you're getting like 20 to 30? Sure, more
And
to come. But here's the thing. I don't see emulation being worth that much money unless we're talking like a substantial chunk of the console's library. Like Nintendo, I can understand Sega, but you own the 64. Throw out more than 12. You have a lot more that you could probably throw there.
I think one of the things is that Nintendo is looking at this, and I've heard rumors, like, granted through Reddit, but whatever, that there is like indications that they're going to start introducing Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games. So I definitely see that this is something that's going to evolve. At some point, they were going to have to put on like this price increase, and I think, to be honest, I think the N64 is the best time to do it. If anyone is really clamoring for a generation of games, I kind of feel like it's the N64, simply because we already have, Super Nintendo and Nintendo. We have the NES and the Super NES minis and stuff. So like we have all those. So I think now was the time when they're announcing this to release that price tag and then slowly add on. Are a lot of people going to jump on for the expansion right now? No. But if they say, hey, it's $50, it comes with these games, people are going to be like, okay, that's not quite enough. But then if they start adding more to the service, that value proposition becomes higher. Granted, coming out with a crappy service that is missing, key functionalities or, not performing well, that doesn't really lend well. So I think it's one that it'll eventually grow. But I bet that we're going to see a situation where Sony is, or sorry, where Nintendo, people are going to be buying this and saying what a good deal it is.
I mean, we can make that argument as well, but I'm going to say right now that you kind of got to start with something worth the value first. And there's also a precedent that's been set with NES and Super Nintendo that they kind of just stop. They don't necessarily add a bunch and then keep adding as they go. Mm-hmm. Similar to what Sony did with the PS2 and PS4 stuff. They put a bunch in to start, and then people, like, it probably just didn't do very well, so they just went, oh, I guess we don't have to do it. The problem is Nintendo, you kind of put a price tag on it now, so you better keep going even if it's not doing anything. Mm-hmm. So it goes both ways in this, but realistically, like, I don't see people looking at, $30 for a set of emulation and thinking, okay, I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be coming back to this every couple of weeks to see what they've added. I think most people are going to put it down and I think they're almost going the gym membership route where they're just hoping to God that people just kind of forget that they have the subscription, which is worse.
Yeah, I can see that. I don't know. It doesn't bode well, but I think this is something that I hope that, people hold Nintendo's feet to the fire, but I think this is something that eventually people are going to, accept and just get over. It's the same thing that happened when PlayStation Plus became required for online play.
Yeah, but realistically, like, they didn't change a price tag on you. They just kind of added like more to it, didn't they?
No, I remember them raising the price, and I don't think they added stuff to it. Like, the PlayStation Plus subscription has gone up.
Were they not doing the freebies right off the bat? I mean, I was 360 during those days, so I don't remember.
How PlayStation Plus started? It started as an optional thing, like, hey, we're just gonna throw you some free games, whatever. Join if you want. We don't really care. And then when PS4 came out, that's when it became, hey, we're going to like require you to play it for online purposes. And the price didn't go up at first, but like eventually they did raise the price without adding any sort of significance to make it worthwhile.
Okay.
So, and now nobody complains about the fact, like, it's very rare that you have people saying, why am I having to pay for online because I had to before. I didn't have to before.
Yeah, okay, that's true.
Yeah. So
I mean, but again, like we were just talking earlier, and we did talk last week about, them raising the price by $30. What does that really have to be to making it worth it? And again, like we said, if it's not for Animal Crossing, if that's not your thing, realistically, like $30 just it isn't enough. And it might be enough in a year, it might be enough in 2 years, but the fact that at the very beginning that at $30 just is not worth it, that's the problem.
Like, I just feel like if they waited until the fact that they could, say we have Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games, people at that point would be like, I don't want to pay the extra for those things, whereas they want to pay extra for the Nintendo games. Because, like, let's be honest, the nostalgia that people have, there are some Game Boy games that people are nostalgic for, but like, really, the nostalgia is for the N64 games of those two consoles.
Yeah, I mean, on top of that too, like, there's just, you're not gonna get a core of people right off the bat for something like that, especially with that price tag. And then, so you really do have to at least, like, you gotta start off with a bit more of a bang than 12, or at the very least, like, you guys could say, like, hey, you could even say, like, if let's assume that the rumor's true that they are intending to get Game Boy and Game Boy Advance in there eventually, you could say, hey, here's our roadmap, here's what's coming in the next 12 months, instead of, hey, $30, here's the games that we're starting with, and at some point you'll see a couple of these, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like, it gives people the sense of, like, okay, they might do something, but then they just look back at the precedent that was set with NES and SNES and go, yeah, but last time they didn't do much either, so are they? Like, at the very least, if they have, like, a roadmap that extends further than adding maybe 5 or 6 games per console after that, people would look at it and be like, oh, so in about a year's time, we might be starting to see Game Boy games, and, maybe in 2 years they'll be looking for, like, at least then they have some sense of looking forward. Whereas here, it really just looks like nothing more than just trying to get more money out of people.
I think it's going to come back where they can come later and be like, hey, we heard you guys, we understand we're going to, lower the price by $10, or we're going to add more features. And then it seems like a win for the players, which it won't be. You're still getting the same service.
I mean, we're still going to hope that happens, because at least it's something. At least it's an admission of, okay, we might have overdone this a bit. Like, I think the problem, though, is I find like it's going to have to be hard for them to make that decision, because the only way they can really lower the price now is by separating the DLC from it, because I assume that the DLC is priced based on that expansion pack for Animal Crossing. So if they lower the price, what does that say about people who buy the DLC separate if that's all they want?
Well, I mean, they can still buy it separately if they want.
Yeah, but what if, well, I don't know. Again, I don't know what the price is, but let's assume, let's say it's $20.
I think it's like $20-$25.
So let's say it's 25, and if you pay 30, you get the DLC and that. And then they say, okay, we're going to take $10 off of it now. If you paid the $25 for the DLC, you kind of feel stupid. Sure, it's $5, but you kind of feel a little bit stupid now.
I don't think that's the case at all. Like, I mean, DLC, typically in any other console environment, DLC typically goes down in price. So, like, if I buy it now, and then 6 months to a year, the overall expansion pass goes cheaper. I don't feel like an idiot.
I was thinking if they were going to do that decision, it would not be a 6 to 12 months thing. Like, the reaction has to be sooner than later, because I think people are that upset. I mean, if they change they might. That's probably what they're going to do. But, like, from a fan perspective, I don't want to hear them admitting they were wrong a year later. I want that now. I don't want this bullshit to go on for a full year and then find out I just, wasted my time on it.
Nintendo has to sit and wait and see. And I don't think they're expecting everyone to clamor over and buy the expansion pass, but
I hope they don't expect if a year from now they drop $10 on it and everybody's gonna be like, oh, it's so worth it now. I think people will be like, really, guys, it took you this long?
Hey, no, I mean, I think that's definitely what they do. I mean, they released a compatibility for Bluetooth headphones like a month ago, and it's been in the console this entire time. I think Nintendo gets a pass on a lot of stuff, and I think that they kind of know that they can do that.
I mean, look, I guess in a way, like, everybody gets a pass, because, I mean, again, like, some people were mad about Sony stuff, and we've kind of forgotten that too. I'm sure in a year's time we'll have forgotten about this whole thing. A lot of this is just reacting to the current, displeasure that's going on right now, right?
And I think the fact that, the N64 controllers are sold out, it's a pretty good indication that, Nintendo's targets are being met. Not saying that everyone's buying it, but like the fact that people are buying them, that says any indication that we have right now that, people are going for it.
Yeah,